Welcome to the Theme Park Shark Podcast, hosted by Dustin and Jake. The latest in theme park news and rumors. Keep in mind, all rumors discussed in this podcast are just discussion and not confirmed until they are by the park themselves. Enjoy the podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Theme Park Shark Podcast. My name is Dustin, and as always, I have my host, Jake, with me.
How's it going?
Always a pleasure to have you here, Jake. And with Jake, a very special guest. Today we have Alicia Stella with us.
Hello. Glad to be here.
Alicia, I'm going to brag on you for a second, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah, please.
Alicia is the owner of Orlando Park Stop. She's been featured in countless news publications. She leads the way, in my opinion, by a long shot, actually, in speculation at the parks. She has a podcast as well. You should check out the Park Stop podcast. And as I mentioned, I truly feel she is a leader. She's the best when it comes to news before we know it. So I don't think there's anybody anywhere that I would have wanted to discuss Epic Universe with Jake and I. So Alicia, thank you again for being here.
It's an epic event. It's an epic event. We must talk about the epic news.
Yes. So obviously, guys, we are talking about Epic Universe today. We're just going to kind of dive through and go through each land individually. So Jake, I mean, you cool starting with Nintendo, or what do you think?
I mean, you're kind of in charge here, so...
No,
sure.
What do you mean I'm in charge? It's supposed to be a co-host, man.
Okay, then yeah, we'll start with Nintendo.
Wonderful. So we're going to take a quick look at Super Nintendo World. Has been around and kind of moved around quite a bit from, over the years and where it's been kind of placed. But as we now know, it's in Epic Universe, so... what's your guys' take on, I guess, what they did end up doing for Nintendo, I guess, based upon what's going to be in other parks and what Epic Universe is getting?
On the one hand, I am excited for Super Nintendo World.
Yeah.
On the other hand, this is 99% exactly the same plans as we're going to go into Kid Zone, which we would have gotten several years earlier than we will now that it's going to this new park. So I'm a little bummed that we have to wait longer. I'm excited for a whole new theme park. But meanwhile, Fievel Goes West is looking a little long in the tooth.
Is it literally exactly like to a T what we would have had in Kid Zone?
I mean, looking at the concept art, which people will say, hey, it's concept art. And I'm like, yeah, but it matches the development plans that are being approved with Orange County right now. So it's concept art, but Universal's not, like, they're not Disney. Their concept art is usually pretty spot on. So the only difference I even see, and then they muted the colors and they removed some things to try to make us not realize that that's Donkey Kong in the corner. Clearly it is. But the only difference I see is there's something jutting out of the side of it. And I think they've extended out the quick service. So there you go. We've got more seats in the quick service.
Hey, quick service, Jake. How's that make you feel?
I mean, I like to eat, so good for me.
Mushroom top pizzas at Toad's Cafe.
That's what I'm talking about.
It really does look the same. It's even in the exact same placements as Kid Zone would have been and as Japan is going to be, with the giant Mario Kart show building, the Mushroom Kingdom in the front, and then the Donkey Kong Country in the back.
Huh. And, I mean, I've been trying to stay on top of it as best as possible. Epic Universe compared to Japan and Hollywood. Japan is just not getting Kong.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the satellite photos, it's even got the exact same shape for where the Donkey Kong coaster would be. They just didn't build anything there yet.
In Hollywood, it seems to be even smaller.
I think you guys are just getting Mario Kart. I'm sorry.
Which stinks for me, because obviously that is my home base park.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, at least it's coming, not as long as it's going to take for Epic Universe, but I mean, that hurts that we're only getting Mario Kart. That's kind of...
Well,
we
don't
might not
worry.
have the last Nintendo in Florida, though, because no one ever remembers that Singapore is getting their own Nintendo World, too.
I know. That's a more recent announcement, and theirs might be 2025 at the latest, so because they're going to get the Minions first, most likely, and that whole resort's getting an aquarium and casinos and all kinds of crazy stuff, but... yeah, they announced that they're getting the Super Nintendo World Land. I was going to say, if they start charging people for the studio tour at Hollywood, like that rumor goes from the survey, and people stop riding it and they close it down, that'll be a lot more space. They can add all the Nintendo rides they want.
Hey, I was totally against the idea, but if it's going to lead to that, I'm totally with it. I'm fine with that.
I mean, what are you gonna lose, really?
Right.
Like supercharged
Fine
Con
with that.
360,
Fine with
turn them
that.
into standalone attractions,
Yeah.
make the lower lot a whole theme park. I mean, it would be sad, but the Warner Brothers tour still exists. Doesn't
True.
All the different studios have tours.
Jake
When
and
I was in
I actually,
California,
we just
yeah.
decided to do that one.
We got to
Yeah.
see historic spots like where things such as Norbit were filmed.
That was the question that I
classic.
actually asked Jake over and over. I said, Jake, I think this is where Norbit was filmed. And Jake actually went up to our tour guide and asked her. And she was thrilled that we knew that.
So yeah, or just stop filming TV and movies there. Then you got lots of room to build rides.
True.
Yeah, let's just stop making the working studio a studio.
Yeah, worked for Florida. So there's another building adjacent to
Yes.
Nintendo in this concept art.
Yeah.
And I am guessing, hoping that that's another attraction they've kind of tacked on. So it's technically like part of Nintendo, but also has hub access.
Yeah. What do you think, Jake? I mean, have you seen that little offsite?
Talking
building
about
she's-
the red one with the circles on it, or the one
no,
to
it's
the
right
left
next,
closer
right
to
next
the
to the
entrance?
entrance. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Pokemon.
It looks to me like the old Earthquake show building,
Huh.
where the back of it had the long part that was the actual ride. See, like the tall roof part,
Yeah.
that's the ride part that was in the back, and then the other rooms in the foreground are the pre-show rooms. So when I look at it, I go, that looks like holding space, pre-show, loading area, and then ride or show.
Interesting.
Like because of the different sections of the building. And there are rumors that there's a Super Smash Brothers show in the works. So that's the only Nintendo thing I can think of that isn't Pokemon, because I believe that all that empty green space will eventually later become, it's earmarked for a Nintendo expansion. And so far, Pokemon, I think, is best guess, because that also was planned to go into Kid Zone a year after the Nintendo plans were pulled. They were like, we're going to do Pokemon in Kid Zone. And
Right.
supposedly people saw plans, and then they pulled that too. So if they keep pulling things from Kid Zone, I assume they're coming to this new park.
No, I've actually heard that rumor pick up myself too with Super Smash. So you're thinking if Smash Brothers is going to come to this park, that's probably the building for it.
That's my guess.
Yeah.
Because it's adjacent. It even looks like it's attached somehow to the entryway to Mushroom Kingdom.
It's interesting that they would decide to do that with what almost looks like it's outside of the, Nintendo world.
It just goes to show how much they don't want to alter those plans.
Hey, good point.
They got these plans, they spent the money on them, and they built them exactly the same in Japan. They're going to build them exactly the same in Epic. And
Yep.
plan once and build 4 times. That's what they say.
Very hard-headed.
Yeah, that's what we've kind of come to, I guess, realize and I guess have to love at this point from Universal. Moving up the concept art, there is that little orange building, and kind of still in the realm of Nintendo, because I've been pitching this for a long time as a possible Pokemon attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Alicia knows I want it to be a Pokemon attraction. I've been pretty heavy on it. But I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to tell. I think it serves well. Like you mentioned, Alicia, being I guess right in front of that expansion property kind of as well. Could lend itself as an interesting prospect, but yeah.
If we're playing detective, I would say I don't believe that's an attraction.
Okay.
I mean, maybe an arcade at best.
Yeah.
Because if we look at the height of the actual building,
True.
If the height of that building compared to even what I was saying, maybe Smash Brothers is, the height of that building compared to the Mario Kart building,
That's
the height of that building
yeah.
compared to any of the show building is like across the way there. It is so flat that the only thing I could possibly think of is either a large restaurant, a shopping district, or both, or like an arcade or something. Or, and this is crazy, a lot of the hub stuff may just be temporary placeholders. And they're throwing stuff into the green areas so it doesn't look so empty to the naked eye. Like when you zoom out, maybe we won't notice the green areas as much because there's stuff adjacent to the hub, like that weird space building on the other side. So space building and this Pikachu Charmander building and the other one may just be placeholders or even a piece of something that's planned for later on, but they didn't want to put the whole thing in here and give it away. So No telling what it is, but it's definitely Charmander's Big Fire Grill.
Yeah, I'm with that. I'm fine with that.
I am spreading that rumor now. That is definitely what it is. I have inside sources that have confirmed that is a Charmander statue out front. You see the fire. It is Charmander's Big Fire Grill. Try the s'mores. It's amazing.
Oh, yes. Jake. What?
Sounds good.
well, Jake,
I dig it.
I weighed back and forth with you as well that was probably going to be some sort of attraction, but it's a good point what Alicia said with the actual like height of the building. Does that change your perspective as well?
Yeah, I mean, I never took that into consideration. This building really reminds me a lot of the Alien Swirling Saucers building at Hollywood Studios. I mean, they have like the exact same shape. So if anything, maybe it's like 2 flat rides like that. But,
that flat ride definitely could be. I just don't think it's an inside attraction.
Right.
Can you imagine if it's like flat rides flanking a restaurant or a gift shop or arcade or something?
That'd actually be really sick.
Next level. Coming up behind that, we have what we've all been talking as classic monsters, and I guess a very almost random amphitheater. Are we going to say at this point that I guess the amphitheater is absolutely attached and going to be a part of that world, or is that just going to be something for maybe special events and it's just there, or what are we thinking?
2 things. One, if you zoom in, there definitely appears to be a connection, like an entrance from the little like European village here.
Sure.
There's definitely a road leading to it under what looks like maybe a windmill from Frankenstein. If you look down below there looks to be a pathway connecting to this amphitheater. Number 2, that amphitheater is not in the plans, the development plans being approved right now.
Huh.
So they may have thrown that in to throw us off.
That's interesting.
They like I said, those big empty green spots, and a lot of the different things in this concept art, if you look around, looks like it's been kind of smudged in through the Photoshop smudge tool. Like a lot of it was separate elements that have been mixed into this one beautiful concept art. So it might be something from later plans, or it just isn't in the approval plans yet. I have heard that there's going to be at least one major e-ticket attraction at the Monsters Land and one show or walkthrough attraction, but I wasn't thinking it was going to be this massive giant theater show.
Yeah.
So, or they could have even just taken a small show and just made it bigger in Photoshop at the last minute to make it fill some of this empty space. We just don't know. But I would say it's part of the monsters, but if it really is that big, it could be like a Phantasmic or Beauty and the Beast type theater where they can kind of do multiple things and it has a long road back to the hub.
Yeah, that looks massive. That looks bigger than Waterworld.
Which is why I was saying I don't. Well,
yeah,
see, now speaking of Waterworld, there were rumors that they wanted to bring Waterworld to more parks. I think it's even going to Beijing.
It is.
Yes.
Instead of bringing it here, what if we're getting a monsters themed stunt show on the level of Waterworld?
Yeah, that's a possibility too.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. So instead of getting just Waterworld straight up, we get something that along the same lines includes a lot of the same types of stunts. Maybe they put it on water and they make it a Creature from the Black Lagoon setting.
Yeah, it has a crashing airplane and it kills all the creatures in the lagoon.
Yes.
Just as you mentioned earlier, like with the smudge tool that you mentioned, like it seems very obvious up there. I guess north of the world, they smudged completely over the trees. So is that, I guess, in your opinion, where that just show building is going to be, and they just didn't know how to make that look more presentable, or?
Yeah, let me pull up my plans. I got a little drawing I did on top of the development plan, so I can kind of see where everything is located. But
they totally
the land kind of butts right up against Kirkman Road.
Right.
So the trees and the blurring back there. Well, Kirkman Road is in the distance. So yeah, you're right. They might have blurred out part of the show building. I think part of the show building is also underneath the land. You can kind of see how it squares off on the corner.
Right.
Like Pandora, they kind of hide the show building underneath the mountains that keep going forever.
Sure.
So I think with Dracula's castle here at the top, on top of rocks, on top of a hill, that hill is the show building underneath it.
Ah. Jake, do you have a blue sky or just a wish list for this world as far as an attraction?
Yeah, I want something along the lines of like Poseidon's Fury walkthrough type of deal, along with a mega e-ticket ride attraction.
You can't just say an e-ticket. You got to tell me what kind of e-ticket you want.
Dark ride.
Dark ride.
Like, I like the Kuka arm idea. I think that'd be really cool to see that technology used again. But I think this is like a good opportunity for them to really diversify the types of attractions that they have in the park. Because when we look at the 2 current parks, everything is basically not too unique. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have a boat ride, for example, at Studios Park, or we only have 1 special effects show now. So maybe over here they'll give us something that we don't see too often.
What do you mean there's no boat ride? Fievel has a water raft ride.
I forgot about the best boat ride in all of Orlando.
I like the idea of the Kuka arm, which is a rumor floating around. I haven't gotten any confirmation on it, but I like the idea. And an idea I've been putting out there in case Universal Creative is listening. I want it to start exactly the same as the Haunted Mansion ride, with the Doom buggies going by Omnimover style. And not until like scene 4 does the Kuka arm start flying around. So everyone thinks they're just on an Omnimover dark ride and they're chilling. And then all of a sudden, whoa, like there's a spell placed on you or something, or Dracula's making you float. I don't know, but a best of Haunted Mansion style. All the monsters are there. And it's an Omnimover style that turns into a Kuka arm would blow me away. But I don't want screens. I don't even want the domes. I just want actual sets.
I saw you pitch that. And I started thinking about that, and I just realized how amazing like that type of attraction would be. I think the best way you pull that off, though, is in the restraints, though, too, because like you have to actually convince people that you know what I'm saying, like that this isn't going to be like anything wild. So I'm kind of curious how that would be pulled off.
Yeah, well, in Harry Potter, they tell you beforehand, like, these flying benches can get a bit wild.
Too. Yeah.
So, like, don't tell anyone that it's going to fly. Like, you know, get into your special, you know, make it shaped like a coffin or something. I don't know. Get into your special floating coffins. Ooh. And then scene 4 or 5 comes around and it's like, all right, let's kick these coffins into high gear.
So this world is also interesting to me because obviously with how successful Horror Nights is, I think a lot of people kind of want some sort of year-round Horror Night experience. But I mean, a lot of this park is geared completely towards children, but I just think it's going to be completely, I mean, you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. I think it's going to be tough to theme an entire world to, like, I guess the intensity level of what would be Horror Nights. Do you guys think it's going to be more so like kind of an attraction here and there that kind of has that intensity, and the rest of the park is kind of, you know, be tame so families can still kind of walk and mingle around the park? Or what's your guys' take on, like, I guess the actual horror level that they're going to go for?
I don't think it's going to be scary, the classic monsters area.
Really?
Yeah, because the classic monsters aren't scary.
Yeah.
If you look at any Halloween decorations, the Universal version of Frankenstein's monster with bolts in his neck is like the most popular look. These days, kids love monsters. Hotel Transylvania, Vampirina, like these are the kids' favorite things, and they're not scary. Although I always wonder, Vampirina, what do you eat? You know, I worry about your friends at school. Do they know what you eat? So, yeah, I don't think the classic black and white monsters are scary compared to today's movies. So as much as they are more like creepy or you know, unique or interesting to and classic. You know, so I don't think in
terms of a haunted house attraction that you brought up, I don't think we'll see that, because if we look at all past Universal year-round haunts, they've all basically been flops.
Oh yeah. Well, you want a Poseidon's Fury type thing with a walkthrough. So is that like more like an adventure type deal?
Yeah, not
a
like
haunted
house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jake is all about the adventure. He even what was the quote from Universal that you picked out that you said was your favorite quote about this world? Do you remember?
Oh, I gotta find it.
Around this park. Yeah, it was literally something about like it's not about the, I guess, like the destination, it's about the journey. It was something to that extent, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
that's what it
because
was.
The journey is walking through 23 acres of hub to get from land to land.
And that's
that
why
is the journey.
I'm most excited about the hub.
Oh boy.
Well, you want to talk about the hub next?
Go to the hub, Jake.
Since
Since you're Mr. Hub, go for the hub.
Since we're in the middle of the park going around the circle, the hub definitely lends itself well to exploring, because there's no, like, this isn't like New York City with a grid pattern. There's no like easy streets to figure out. These are circles within circles within circles.
It's like Epcot on Epcot.
It's going to be like, I could just imagine every time you get to a fork in the road having to put another sign that says all this stuff is this way and all this stuff is this way, like the studio directories at Universal.
Yeah.
Like they're going to be everywhere, because everywhere you go is another turn where you could go 3 different ways. It's
funny because just looking at it, you know, it seems like a good idea and it looks like a good idea. But then you kind of start thinking about what's the actual scale of this thing going to be, and how much is going to be involved with getting from point A to point B. And you are right. It is going to be an interesting.
I mean, it is 3 hubs stacked onto. It's the snowman. Let's call it the snowman effect. We have 3 circles.
Yeah.
One at the entrance. You can go left or right. There's the one in the middle that has maybe like this stained glass restaurant or something.
Yeah.
That's like the hub. And then there's the fountain one, which actually is just like a almost amphitheater seating, so you can relax and watch the Bellagio fountains.
Yeah, Universal Bellagio.
Right. With the hotel in the background. So when I say hub, what I really mean is a gigantic center of the park city walk area.
Yeah.
Here's what I can't put my finger on. So the biggest hub that I've ever been to at a theme park is Shanghai Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell if one of these circles is about the same size as that hub or if they're a little bit smaller. If they're the same size as that hub multiplied by 3, it's going to be absolutely ginormous.
Yep.
Because the hub in Shanghai is exhausting to walk around. But then again, their hub's also pretty boring and doesn't have like attractions and stuff.
Right. There's going to be a few attractions in this hub, restaurants, shopping, clearly a planetarium.
Like this is where they're kind of trying to tie the whole park together.
Right. And it is definitely like that quote that you're talking about with the journey and the exploration. This feels like Jules Verne. I think someone was saying it's called celestial. I can't say the word. Celestial.
Yeah.
Someone say it for me.
That's close enough.
Celestial
Gardens, which is a great name for a hub. I don't know if that's actually going to be the real thing. I think I heard that on the Diz Universal Edition. It's beautiful. It looks like what the Epcot Blue Sky Future World was supposed to be, but like fleshed out.
Mm-hmm. I don't think people are giving this enough credit for what it'll turn out being.
Are we in agreement that the planetarium isn't space fantasy?
You're referring to the Japanese ride? Probably not.
There's not enough room for that.
Yeah.
That ride is so cool.
See, and then when you see this space theme, and then obviously it's dropped in a Universal Park, your mind's going to start looking at all the Universal Parks, and then that's pretty much the only ride, based upon their current lineup, that comes to mind.
Well, and I think I hope / think that none of the main hub attractions are going to be based on anything unless it's adjacent to another land.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know this will be such a big surprise to modern day theme park fans that the creative guys could use their own imagination to like develop their own ideas and stories. It's like
bite your tongue.
Dying art form.
How dare you? People are getting mad. They're like, I want Scooby-Doo. I want this. Where's all these IPs that they can easily put into the hub? And I'm like, a week ago, you guys were complaining that Universal doesn't do any non-IP attractions. And now you're complaining that there's not any IP attractions in the hub? What is wrong with you people?
Yeah. Oh no, they have to tell their own stories using their own thoughts.
Be angry at whatever they decide to do. That's usually the way we go. If they do it, be upset about it. Right.
But the little space building, that one has me the most excited. Yeah. And the reason I don't think it's filler is because that's kind of a very detailed and cool looking filler building. I don't think they'd put that much effort into it.
What do you mean by filler? Filler as in something they just dropped in the concept art, or?
Yeah, because it's in an expansion plot, kind of blocking the fact that there would be nothing there for a long while. There's all green. Like they put fireworks over the Fantastic Beasts area so we don't see how big that show building is. They could have put filler space building here so that we don't see how empty that part is.
That's the segue, Alicia. I like that. Let's jump on into it. Fantastic. Very small, I guess, beginning of the world between like the actual city, and then a monstrous show building that's covered up with fireworks. So
yeah, what we're essentially seeing is in Diagon Alley, the London facades,
right,
blocking the view of the real land itself.
Yeah,
and this is like, and a lot of people think it's France, it's Paris, from Fantastic Beasts. Mm-hmm. And then really that's just the entryway with a couple shops on the bottom side there, the entryway to the real land, which is entirely indoors.
You see, and this is exactly what I've been throwing at Jake as well. As I told him, I said, I think most of this is going to be indoors. The actual walk around area is going to be indoors. And I love that. That's different for what we've seen here in the States for them.
Now, just because it's indoors doesn't mean it's going to be well air conditioned. This is going to be a huge building in Florida. And from what I've heard, they're going to try their best, but you'll still feel like you're outside, if you know what I mean.
In Japan, these indoor lands are not abnormal, but here this is the first.
Yeah, and not just there's entire theme parks being built inside now in like Dubai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They
it is
aren't that
interesting.
good, so don't get too excited about those.
No, and maybe the content isn't great, but the idea of being inside like Mall of America and here's a Nickelodeon theme park. I like being inside.
If they could do something like the indoor How to Train Your Dragon Land for this indoor Fantastic Beasts, then that would be very impressive. That How to Train Your Dragon Land at Motion Gate is by far the most impressive area at that whole park.
Because you can actually ride the coaster around the little land area, right?
Yeah.
Inside, and it's all inside.
Yep.
But yeah, so you're meant to be outside though.
As long as that inside is cooler than the ending of ET, I'll be fine. Because I think that's like the hottest indoor moment I've ever experienced.
It's hot fog.
Yeah.
That's because their planet is dying. You can feel the heat from the molten lava.
True.
Go to Diggly. All right, so I think there's two major attractions in Fantastic Beasts. If the plans are any indication, it looks to be like two separate buildings inside the gigantic building.
Yeah.
And we've seen patents, even as recently as this week, there's the new tower patents, which some might say could be for a Fantastic Beasts ride.
I feel like the indoor segment serves itself extremely well to the Potter Ministry too, which is, it's almost, I wish that it wasn't Fantastic because I feel like the Potter Ministry would have served that indoor space really well. But do you guys know what they're rumoring? I guess for that indoor, it's like their version of the Ministry, isn't it?
Well, so far we've seen 3 different ministries in the 2 movies,
right?
And the second movie opened in the London Ministry of Magic.
Aha.
So that is a location in these films.
Okay, so that's
as
good.
is the new Paris Ministry and the Congress of Magic in America.
Right.
So we've already seen 3 in just 2 movies, and there's 3 more movies coming, and we're going to Rio next movie. So like I've been saying it's possible that maybe we do some kind of ride that takes us through all the ministries.
That's interesting.
I do know there was those patents for like a Flu Powder Network type ride where you look like you're going into a fireplace and then you're in a new place. But to pull it off, you're actually on a track moving with the fireplace.
Wow.
So like it feels like you're just kind of still, but really you're going from a physical location to another physical location, and then the fireplace opens up and you go into it and you're somewhere else. It's like, whoa. And they have 4 or 5 different ways in the patents to pull off different like scene changes on a ride, so you don't know how you got from place to place. And it just like screams Flu Network because you're going into a fireplace.
Interesting. And I go ahead, Jake.
What about that puzzle theater patent? Is that a possibility here?
I wonder if it could be. Well, it was already shown in the concept art for a Zelda show. The puzzle theater had like Zelda, and I don't mean Link. I actually mean Zelda in the center of the room, and then a different picture with Link. That puzzle concept I think was created for a Nintendo attraction, but it could work well for. I was saying for the original Potter series, it could work well for the courtroom type scene with the cage in the middle.
Yeah,
true.
For the trial.
Yeah.
But I almost think it could be a really neat pre-show where you think you're just in a normal pre-show room and then the actual seats start moving around and then you go onto the ride. Like that would blow my mind.
That'd be amazing.
That's cool.
The drop tower patent that you also just, that we mentioned earlier, that seems to lend itself extremely well to an elevator ride, wouldn't you say?
Right. And there's the elevator scenes in the second to last Potter movie. And I think that the fireworks may be there for more than one reason. They're not just they're not just there to cover up how long this building is, but I think they're there to cover up how tall the back of it is. Because if you look under that bottom right firework, I swear the building looks a lot taller there than it does in the front.
This is good. See, these are the things I wouldn't think of, Alicia. I like that.
If you got 2 rides and it's a Fantastic Beast Land, one would probably be something to do with all the legal troubles in the Wizarding World.
Sure.
But the other one, it's got to focus on the creatures.
True.
So, something that even if it's the queue, if we're going through the stables where Newt keeps all of his creatures in like the different habitats, like that could be really cool. Where like, each little stable area is like this one's water and this one's green and this one's snow. Like that would be a really cool queue area while waiting. But it also could be a great first scene of a ride, and then something escapes and we follow it through the city or whatever.
Imagine how great that would look too. Like, just imagine like how that could be themed. Boy.
Yeah, I was saying the multi-layer screen that they do on Navi River Journey, where it looks like there's a foreground log and then a middle layer and then a background layer. Like that would actually work really well for those themed environments, so that as you walk around, it actually feels like it has depth to each of their stalls.
I like that. Yeah, that could be good.
In case you're listening, Universal Creative, I'm available.
Alicia's available, guys. Hit her number. She's good. Let's run because I think that's pretty in depth for that world, probably more than what most people have heard. Let's run down quickly. Coaster. It's a hub coaster, right? That's what we're gonna go with.
Yes, and thank you.
Land.
Yeah, that's.
Thank you for not saying it's part of How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, no. I've seen that pretty much everywhere as well. It gets conflicting, but to me, at least, it seems pretty clear it's not.
And it's obviously backdraft themed.
Yeah, that's what I said. I sent that to Jake. The little the riders. It looks like the backdraft logo.
It definitely is.
Backdraft themed coaster coming soon, guys.
I will ride it every day.
I know you would. That's why I sent it to you. I thought you'd like that.
Well, it's a launched racing coaster. Like it actually, where Dueling Dragons had a lot of coming to, like they almost come to a head in a few places. This one's more like a side-by-side race the whole way through.
Yeah.
So clearly it's Hobbs and Shaw.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy. I was so excited when I told myself that there would be nothing supercharged within this park. So if that's true, I
think it's little blue monkey aliens versus little yellow monkey aliens, and they race each other like little goblins from outer space do, you know? Or it's Spaceballs the ride.
I'd ride either of those over Hobbs and Shaw.
Spaceballs, the movie, the ride.
Yes. Featuring blue little monkey aliens.
Yeah.
I actually would love for it to be Fast and Furious if that meant they were going to close down the other one and build something else.
I'm down with that. Yeah.
Like this is what Fast and Furious should have been, a racing coaster.
Yeah.
No, I think it plays into the exploration, Discovery Bay-esque hub theme, and maybe a little spacey. Like these are, boarding your spacecraft and launching, and I don't know, space race, because there's two of them. So
true.
US versus USSR, Space Race the ride.
Space Race the ride. Who will get to the moon first?
Yes.
Closing out, I guess, any hub discussion while we're kind of on it with the coaster. I mean, are we really going that this is kind of like a spacey, futuristic theme? I mean, it seems pretty obvious from the concept art, but is that where we all kind of...
I mean, it kind of has little sections.
Yeah,
and I haven't really talked about this before. Like, this could be the spacey section with planetarium here and the space coaster. But then the back looks kind of like the Lost City of Atlantis for the hotel.
Exactly.
It's got water in the not phallic at all middle part. And but then also we have gardens, and it looks very green on the bottom left over there with the giant not carousel looking thing.
Yes.
So maybe this is like some kind of 5 elements / discovery of all different, I don't know, there's terra and water. I don't know. I'm not sure how they're going to tie it all together, but I'm sure it has Jules Verne in there somewhere.
See, and that's funny you mentioned that, because I actually did mention that to Jake as well. Because I think the very first day concept art came out, he said to me, he goes, dude, this is futuristic. Don't you see like all the spacey themes? Isn't that what you said to me, Jake? You said this is space themed?
Yeah, it looks pretty space themed in my eyes.
Yeah, and then I was looking at it, and then I kind of just shifted my perspective and focused like on that area we were just discussing where the coasters. It's like, oh yeah, there, but in other areas, maybe it's a little different.
Well, so maybe it's the different biomes of different planets, because we're in the epic universe and we're exploring different galaxies.
This is getting deep now, Alicia. This is getting intense.
Like the lower right, that's where the Ewoks live. And then when you go to the top left, that's where, like, I don't know, the lizards live there or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
How to Train Your Dragon.
How to Train Your Dragon.
Yes.
No, nothing says different worlds other than Vikings.
Yeah, exactly. I covered this a little bit on my channel, at least a little bit. First impression, very, very open. Very, like, it creates, like, the impression that you're in a very... kind of flat and open world. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, it looks big.
In the middle, yeah. And it also is closest to the camera in this
True.
concept art. So
Yes.
it looks the biggest, but I mean, I think it technically is the biggest by acreage, but it also is the most sparse. If you look around the edges, like I think they're going to do a decent job of kind of blocking out, like making it look like cliffs in some areas.
Right.
You can even see over by the space race coaster, there's like a little cliff thing with a tunnel that the coaster goes through, the dragon coaster.
Yes.
Which, by the way, yeah, let's mention that there's a dragon's coaster right in the middle of this land.
Yes.
Going through over the water, under the water through a bridge, and then over top of this, what looks to be Dudley Do Right's Ripsaw Falls over in the corner.
Yep.
So this coaster is long. This is like a Hagrid-sized coaster, but going through a land.
Yeah,
so that's intriguing. Yeah. And then there's also, if you look at that show building in the extended concept art, it's cropped in a lot of places. But if you look at that one building over next to Dudley Do Right there, you can see facade cliffs wrapped around it, like rockwork and stuff. It's almost two-dimensional, but it's like flats. And it's facing inside the land. See, we're at a weird angle where we're looking at it from the back. We're not actually seeing what the taller parts look like from the front.
Right. And I was going to mention this as well because I mean, one of the perspectives that we're seeing with this land is because we're right on top of it. Briefly changing gears, but kind of still on topic. Super Nintendo looks tiny next to this. Is that literally just because of perspective, or is it, I guess, also a result of being the plan for Kid Zone, or what's your opinion on, I guess, the sheer size that, like, discrepancy that we're seeing in this?
A little of both. Let's look at the numbers here. How to Train Your Dragon is nearly double the size of the initial Nintendo Land. But it's also spread out, and Nintendo has multiple layers.
True.
And also, Nintendo has like the biggest show building of any single ride so far that we've seen.
Right.
But also, that giant empty green space beside Nintendo is earmarked to be Nintendo. So Nintendo, when it's complete, when they build an expansion, will be the same size as How to Train Your Dragon.
Gotcha.
But it's just more dense, you know what I mean? Like it's got a lot going on in a small space. And it's partly because it was designed to fit into Japan and fit into Kid Zone. But partly also because in this theme park, it's only half of a total land that'll eventually be. That's only really phase one for Nintendo here.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. And that's kind of, I guess, what I was hoping for Super Nintendo. Because that was in my opinion, that was one of the universes that I was most excited for. And I was hoping it would have the biggest presence if they were, saying we're going to wait, we're going to have all this land to work with. It's going to be, the anchor of this park, so to say. And then to be the exact same plan essentially was kind of, But if it is part of the bigger plan.
I've been saying that forever. It's going to be the same. They're just going to add more to it. I was almost expecting like a Kirby flat ride or a Bullet Bill thing or Luigi's Mansion to be tacked on.
Sure.
So I'm almost glad that they're keeping it just like this and then giving us another land based on a different Nintendo property next door. I'd much rather it be that way, like Pokemon.
Yep.
And if Pokemon was supposed to fit into the Pokemon rumor for Kid Zone, was not going to replace the Animal Actors stage. Whereas the original Nintendo rumor was going to replace the Animal Actors.
Right.
In both of the plans, ET stayed the same. So ET's there. So I think with that theater there in the corner, taking up what I thought was part of the Pokemon expansion plot, that actually makes sense because Pokemon is a little bit smaller than the initial Nintendo plans because it wrapped around a theater. So I think there's just enough land in that expansion for Pokemon. And I have a good feeling that that's what's going to be there and that they're not going to wait that long to open it after the park opens.
It's funny you mentioned ET being safe regardless because they kind of put everyone through a little scare today on Twitter with their little... Did you see that tweet they put out today?
Yeah, they were just listing all of their classic attractions. Okay. Unfortunately, only one of them is still around.
Yeah. So...
Honestly, we could count Fievel's Playland because that only opened in 1992, I think.
Was that in the list?
No.
Right.
They screwed us over.
Men in Black wasn't in the list, right?
No, it's 99 or 2000, I think.
And Terminator 2 wasn't in the list.
They literally didn't put anything there except for E.T.
But they put Twister, which opened in 1996.
Yeah, there you go. Because people miss it.
Yeah.
So where's Ghostbusters?
I know.
That's what should have been in place of Twister.
But anyway, why do they like Animal Actors so much?
Oh, boy.
This is something for kids to do. Back to How to Train Your
Yeah,
Dragon.
exactly.
There's like 6 flat rides, a play area, a roller coaster. I think if you zoom in, it looks like a flume ride or something wrapped around this Dudley Do-Ride area.
Yep.
I'm telling you, it's Dudley Do-Ride. They're just moving it over here and calling it Viking Do-Ride. But then there's also a show building down the bottom left that looks pretty tall. And many would tell you that it's going to be their version of like Soaring.
Yeah.
Soarin', or Flight of Passage, but they had those patents where the screen was below you instead of in front of you. So it was almost like a true hang glider experience where you're looking down at all of the countryside as you pass, which, by the way, people get sick on Flight of Passage. When people get sick on Flight of Passage, it goes down to the ground. When people get sick on a ride that the screen is below you, I just fear they're going to stain that poor screen to death.
I was about to say, I wonder how just looking straight down at a screen would translate for, those that are prone to motion sickness. I feel like that would almost make it worse too. Like outside of the fact that, it's going to be the landing zone for anyone that gets sick, just looking straight down seems.
It's not entirely straight down. It looked like it was at a 30-degree angle, but more down than it is in front of you. Yes.
Sure. Oh boy. Well, yeah.
Who knows if they use that patent or not? To be honest, that building size, it looks tall, but it also doesn't look. I mean, it keeps going below the frame of the concept art. It almost looks like the flying theaters at like Lego Movie World at Legoland, where it's more. It's all just like condensed into one area. It's like 3 stories tall, and you can sit in it. It turns around, and you see a screen. Like that almost is what it feels like to me, which is a kiddie version of a Flight of Passage ride.
It seems to me, just looking through the concept art, that there's also going to be little smaller attractions kind of dispersed throughout this land.
Maybe those are the Mac battle boats where you spray each other.
Yeah, exactly. The Mac attraction. What's the name of that attraction where on the right side, kind of by the coaster show building?
Is it this thing I just sent you a picture of?
That would be it. Yes.
I don't know what it's called.
Thanks. That was helpful.
It's like what's the company? Gerschlinger?
Yeah, it's something that I don't want to try to pronounce on this podcast. I guess what's called the Gerschler Skyfly ride. So to me, when they put in attractions like that, I guess there's going to be, a few kind of smaller tier little rides that are going to kind of spread out amongst this land, probably more so geared towards the little ones, I'm guessing. But is this, in your guys' opinion, the only land, or I guess universe within this park that's going to kind of have those attributes with those kind of ride styles, I guess?
Well, that ride's pretty damn intense, if I were to say so myself.
That one's not a little kiddie ride, but there is other kiddie rides here, like the boat ride. And there's some weird teepee tower thing over to the left of the boats. You see that little tower thing?
Yes.
That looks like a kiddie ride. Okay. So I think it's a good mix of flat rides for families, flat rides for kids, and flat rides that are a little more thrilling. And I think it's mainly because this is the only one that isn't, like, there's a land that's entirely inside. There's 2 lands that are stacked, layered. So this was the only one that's kind of flat. So that's where they put the flat rides.
Makes sense to me. Yeah.
So we have 2 water rides, you think, in this land?
If you count the flume thing as an actual ride, yes.
Huh.
I don't know if that is, or it could just be a weirdly colored border. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's funny that you guys mentioned the Skyfly being a little more intense too, because I guess it's going to be a lot more intense than I was expecting, because I was kind of likening it to almost like a Dumbo attraction. But I guess no, huh?
No. Dumbo, if you want to throw up a bunch of times if you're expecting Dumbo.
Well, you're going to leave the kids in the play area next door. That's why they built it there when you go on this thing. Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
This is a flat thrill attraction, which I don't think any of the parks really have any of those.
I'm trying to think quickly.
No, none of the Orlando parks have those.
Yeah.
The closest thing was the air race at Fun Spot, but that was temporary.
And then there's the little tiny green putting area in the middle there.
to play your favorite How to Train Your Dragon putt-putt?
Yeah, exactly. If you were counting all the rides, it looks like there's 2 of those Skyflyer things too.
Yeah, there's
one on either side. So, and then, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I count 8 attractions if you count the play area.
It's pretty dense. That's good.
Yeah. And you know what? There better be like animatronics on the coaster or something, or on the flume ride when you go through those show buildings, or that queue building better be really well themed to kind of make up for the sparseness of the land itself.
You would have to hope that they took every bit of what seemed to be wonderful feedback from Hagrid and just completely dump and revamp and do it again within this park. That's my hope, at least, as far as, animatronics and theming, throughout the world, and especially on coasters too.
I hope that the coaster ride vehicles are like made out of wood and shaped like dragons carved from like by the Vikings. So they're like rough wood, carvings.
Yeah.
That would make it like the way that their baskets on Flight of Hippogriff, like where it could work in universe. And I also hope that the soaring ride is actually on the back of a dragon,
That would be helpful.
Which in the patents, it does show. The patents does look like you're riding on the back of a dragon. So take that, Banshees.
Could you feel the dragon breathing between your legs?
No, because that's unnecessary.
It's important.
You could feel its breath between your two legs. That's amazing.
Yeah, otherwise known as I'm already tight on this ride. Now you're making it harder for my legs to fit. Thank you.
I feel like that I'm fine with that for this world. I'm fine closing out on that note. The hotel, if we just very, very quick, hot round with the hotel. Is there anything that you guys are hoping for within the hotel? Maybe a specific feature, maybe, I don't know if it's after hours, entrance, access.
Buffet.
Buffet. Like literally, like anything.
Always
hotel.
Want a buffet.
Yeah.
Well, there's parking for the hotel in the back,
right
behind it to the left. Because people are like, "Can you only get to your room when the hotel's open? When the park is open?" I was like, "No, it doesn't work that way." Can you imagine lugging your luggage through the whole theme park? No, there's parking back there, so you can come and go as you please. But I would hope for early access with the hotel to get into the park, and maybe they keep the hub open for an extra hour or two after the land's closed. This was something I'm thinking like. Since there's so many restaurants in the middle, kind of force everyone into the middle the way that you force everyone into City Walk at the end of the day at Universal's current resort in Orlando. Like, oh, okay, everyone out of Nintendo, we're closing down, and then they are kind of forced to eat in the center. But also hotel guests, if they could get free access to the park when the lands close, that could be an interesting way to like go and spend money because you have a little back entrance into the park,
right?
Without having to pay for a day ticket that day in particular. And also there'll be the fireworks show. So maybe hotel guests can come down to the hub after the lands close and watch the fireworks like with the regular guests.
And
that
now
would be
you
really
said
cool.
You think the firework launch platform is being built into the design of this park?
There's a lagoon in the plans directly behind the hotel. And there looks to be a fireworks launch platform in a little island in the center of that lagoon.
So the hotel, you think it's backing up towards Universal Boulevard or in the middle of nowhere?
It's kind of at a diagonal angle. So it's backing up against Kirkman and almost Sand Lake.
So like near
the corner
Lockheed
of Sand
kind
Lake.
of?
Yes, Lockheed right behind the lagoon. See, the thing is the hotel is got the theme park in front of it, but then it's also got this giant lagoon behind it because there's no lagoon in the center of the park necessarily. It's just the snowman hubs. So they put the drainage lagoon behind the park, which is behind the hotel. And that kind of blocks your view, or at least gives you some distance between Lockheed and the hotel.
And now it almost seems like you're kind of locked in the middle of nowhere when staying at this hotel. Like you don't have easy access to City Walk.
Well, with the resort road right there, they'll be able to hop onto a bus and get onto the new Kirkman expansion there. And there's bus lanes. So you can get shuttled from the hotel to the original park they're saying 12 minutes from parking lot to parking lot. But from the back there, from the hotel, at least like 9 or 10 minutes bus ride. So it would be essentially like going from one of the offsite resorts, or one of the resorts Magic Kingdom area to Epcot. Like if you were going to take a bus instead of the monorail, it would take you 15 minutes. This is only going to take you 9 or 10. So you're already better off than some of the Disney resorts going to other parks. Like,
and then we don't see a pool in this concept art, but I assume this hotel will have a decently sized pool.
There's a whole lot of room to the right behind Fantastic Beasts that we're not seeing. A lot of space that's I think it's just shown as greenery here, but that might actually be part of the hotel stuff.
Perfect.
Like that greenery behind the facade there where the fake cityscape is and Fantastic Beasts. That whole section is part of the hotel's, what would look like the front if you were parking, if you're coming into so like the parking lot's on the left flank over there. And then I'd assume, pool, other amenities. There's also a building that's kind of almost in the backstage area for the park that's not shown here. That might be like a ballroom area, part of the hotel. So the complex keeps going all the way beside Fantastic Beasts.
Okay.
Has Universal done, I guess, a hotel with, I guess, in-park access and an entrance like this before, like across the board anywhere, or is this their first foray into this?
First.
Is Beijing has one in the concept art, I believe. But that's being built.
Yeah.
It's being built right now. So it seems to be a new thing, but they're doing it at both the new parks.
You've stayed in Disney hotels with a similar concept to this, Jake. What's the experience generally like? Have you enjoyed those experiences, or I mean, it's different, obviously. But what's the best perk of it in your opinion?
Waking up to the sunrise over Main Street, USA of Disneyland Paris was insanely cool.
Yeah.
So I think you'll have the same effect here.
Cool. Yeah. So
I mean, honestly, we have something similar with Cabana Bay and Volcano Bay.
Yeah, that's true, and especially the towers. And in California, the Grand Californian has a great view over the California Adventure, right? Now that hotel only has like a couple hundred rooms, the Grand Californian, right? So I have DVC now. I was going to stay there, and I was like, that's smaller than I thought. This one is reported to have 500 rooms.
Nice.
The Universal Hotel, and at first I was thinking that's small, but then I start to realize that it's actually fairly normal size hotel room.
Correct.
Yeah. And this should be probably the most luxurious hotel at Universal.
Yeah. So I assume or hope it's going to have free express, and that they're going to add the fourth park to the express roster. If you're adding a whole new theme park, I think you can branch out and add more free express, don't you? Kind of spreads it out, you know?
I'm with that.
For sure.
So that's my hope, is that it's going to be expensive as far as like on par with the Hard Rock or the Portofino, but you give me that free express, I got a great view over the park in the morning. It sounds like a good deal.
Oh, yeah.
Closing out Epic Universe, we are saying this, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, are we saying this entire park is opening up, I guess, at opening without an entertainment district, or is that coming later, or is that there at opening, or what's happening as far as, I guess, their city walk?
It's got a snowman.
That's going to be it?
I think their full build-out plans might, over the course of like 10, 15 years, might include another entertainment district.
Yeah.
But as far as the first phase one, it looks to be just this theme park, everything in it, the hotel, and then maybe one or two more hotels just south of it.
So what you see is what you get with the concept art right now.
Yeah, but you got to keep in mind, they're building one of the world's largest parking lots.
Yeah.
And I don't think that is a permanent thing.
No. Once you get permitted for a parking lot, you don't have to re-permit it for when you go to build that garage later. It's already zoned for parking. So that's going to save them in the long run. And parking garages cost a lot to have maintenance. And if you're not going to need it for the next 9 or 10 years, I understand why they're doing the parking lot first. And then when they need the garage, when they add that entertainment district, or they add a second theme park, they might add a second theme park, then they build the garages exactly like they did with Universal Studios Florida. Right. And then they added City Walk in the garages and Islands of Adventure all at the same time, because that's when they needed the extra parking. So later on, I could see that definitely happening. It is in their build out plans, but things can change, one economic downturn and they might shelve it for 20 years. Who knows?
And then you also got to keep in mind that this is located next to the second largest convention center in the United States. So that's definitely going to play a factor in future development plans with this, as far as hotels go and entertainment areas and things like that.
Yeah, I think they're going to have, one boutique hotel just south of here, but then they also have probably a larger, not even value, but a larger like Cabana Bay size hotel just south of the parking lot, so that they can capture some of the iDrive and some of the convention center guests, because they're so close to the convention center. And then like, hey, while you're here, why don't you walk across the street and visit our theme park?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I'm going to task both of you guys as the last question on Epic Universe. You get to pick one attraction. It can be an old attraction, your own attraction, an attraction that's rumored to already be in the park. If there's one thing that you can throw into this universe, what is it? You get one. And it can be as ridiculous as you want it to be. It doesn't have to be real, just your own desire. What would you do?
I got a whole land I'd love to throw in that expansion plot. Can I explain that?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so the land is what everyone is. God, people are reporting it to be true, which is sad because then they're going to let down a lot of people. But classic Universal land. It's got 2 e-ticket attractions, and one of them is like the Great Movie Ride. But it's
that's what I was gonna say. The Great.
It's
movie
called
ride
the Great Universal Movie Ride.
Wow, already.
And it's got sequences that go through like Back to the Future, and it's like the part where Doc Brown's putting together the 2 wires, the electricity comes, and he just shoots down the road and disappears behind like this awesome mirror effect, and then we go into the next scene, and it's like everything. Like we got Hitchcock, we got classic movies, we got more modern movies, but it doesn't have Jaws because the second attraction is the Jaws ride, which is exactly the same as the old Jaws ride, but in a speedboat.
Wow.
The idea is it's test track on water with a shark. Yeah. You're going 50 miles an hour. Shark's chasing behind you. And then like you stop and like, we need to get off at this dock. Comes up, you shoot him. It's just the same ride, but in between the scenes, you go really fast.
Yes.
Lasts like 30 seconds.
Jaws supercharged.
Yes, Jaws. It's called Jaws the Revenge because it's like the second Jaws ride. So he's back for the revenge of tearing down his attraction. And it has nothing to do with Jaws 4. It just unfortunately has the same name. So, Jaws the Revenge.
That was ambitious. I liked that. That was a much better answer than I was expecting. Jake, good luck.
Oh my gosh. I was going to say the Universal Great Movie Ride.
Yeah, I stole it.
So now what I'm going to go with is a slot car attraction like Test Track, but you're riding in a DeLorean time machine.
Oh.
And it's like, honestly, let's make this better. Slot car on a KUKA arm.
And so you fly. Oh, that's perfect.
Yes. So
oh my God.
80 miles per hour, and then you fly.
Yes, you fly.
Good Lord, that would be amazing.
That'd be insane.
Well, now I want that too.
Yes. Anything where you actually get to begin flying in a DeLorean has my vote. That's the attraction of choice.
You know what's really interesting though is that expansion plot on the right side of the park. It cuts off on the right in the concept art.
Yes.
But it's actually the same size as the hub, as far as acreage.
Oh my God.
That's how much expansion space there is, like hiding behind that little mission space building.
Do you have an acreage number for the hub?
I think it's around 23 acres total. And then the expansion, same. So that expansion, I think, is meant to be multiple expansions. Whether it be, Fantastic Beasts gets bigger, although I think they still have a little bit of expansion space already. I think they already have 6 acres of expansion to make the Fantastic World bigger. But then there's also, you could put 2 different lands there and have it connected. That's why that little walkway goes to nowhere by the Mission Space Building. That's for future worlds.
Nice.
Plural.
So I didn't realize it was that big. I knew it was an expansion. I just didn't realize it was that big.
Galaxy's Edge is 14 acres. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, this hub is going to be massive.
Oh, yeah.
Huge.
It's too bad Alicia's pitched world isn't actually a part of the original lineup. Because no, honestly, just think about it. If they did anything with some of the classic IPs in addition to what they're already doing, could you imagine like the hype that would just be built not only from the general public but then theme park enthusiasts too? It'd be ridiculous.
Maybe it works. Like calling your senator. Everyone needs to call your universal representative.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll, put aside some of that expansion for at least one classic. They brought back King Kong,
exactly.
And animatronic and everything. So, and that's like, that was one of their first. That was like their first big theme park attraction in Hollywood. Yeah. It's like, look, we have an animatronic King Kong, and that turned them into a theme park. So, I think they owe Back to the Future at least something, because that turned them into a revolution. That got them started on the whole we're going to invent ride systems, so they owe it to Back to the Future to give it that slot car flying KUKA arm ride.
And the actual property, coming up on 35 plus years later now is still pretty darn good. Like most people know what Back to the Future is.
Oh yeah.
It's not one of those IPs that might be lost over time. I mean, and it's an interesting IP too, because especially Christopher Lloyd loves reprising Doc. you would think there's something that could still be done there as far as, getting either some sort of, whether it's voice or actual real footage for that ride. I don't know. It would. I feel like that would, if you wanted to get people talking about this place, would be ridiculous.
Well, for our next episode, we can talk about Universal Studios Florida's 30th anniversary.
Okay.
Which is coming up next year.
Cool.
And we'll talk about Doc Brown.
Fair enough. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, moving away from Epic Universe and now to the actual current resort. Real quickly, in your guys' opinion, what does this mean for Kids Zone and what does this mean for Lost Continent? Because these were the two areas, obviously, that have been rumored on the chopping block, but now I guess, is it cooling down?
Kids Zone will outlive us all.
It probably will, yeah.
There will never, ever be anything. If you plan something to be built in Kids Zone, it will inevitably end up in the new park. It's like some kind of weird portal that sucks your ideas out and shoots them down 2 miles south of the current resort. No matter what you do, it can't be destroyed.
My idea is they go full on, Potter style. They see how successful Nintendo is. That gets the Luigi's Mansion area, and that gets the original, Mario style IP, so to say. And then next to the current Super Nintendo World Epic Universe, that gets Pokemon, right?
Yeah, right.
And then that way you're kind of you're spreading out,
and Zelda goes to Lost Continent.
Oh. Okay, you might hate me for this, but
go for it.
I think it's incredibly stupid not incredibly stupid, just kind of stupid, of how now theme park design has turned into, instead of building standalone attractions, which they still do, but they just like to build these massive worlds. So I'd much rather Kids Zone be replaced with something like we have in Japan, Universal Wonderland, which is a land with multiple IPs in it, where you're not just screwing yourselves building a land off of a IP that could go out of style.
I feel like that's what the hub's currently serving as. Don't you guys think? Or
I think for Kids Zone, I have two ideas.
Okay.
One is what I'd like to see, and the other one is what they probably could do.
Okay.
And then 3 is what they will do, which is nothing. Well, 1, I think it should be Nickelodeon and Nick Jr. I think there should be, like the Japan has with different properties, especially for little kids. I think you need a Paw Patrol area with little rides. I think you need, you can have Bubble Guppies as a water play area. Like it writes itself. You have a SpongeBob ride. The Nickelodeon Nick Jr. would make an amazing Kids Zone. They should have done it 10 years ago. The fact that they didn't probably has everything to do with Nickelodeon opening that hotel and saying stop making rides and get rid of Jimmy Neutron. So poor Universal is stuck with the meet and greets and no rides. What I think they could do is a land based on DreamWorks Trolls, which already meet and greet over there anyway. I think you tear everything down, you build a play area, a little stage show, and some kind of boat ride, dark ride. And I mean get rid of the animal actors, keep ET and get rid of everything. So you build a dark ride, a stage show outside, and a little play area. So bye-bye Barney, bye-bye Curious George, hello Trolls. I'm fine with it. They're making sequels. It's not like Shrek. Well, actually, Shrek is getting rebooted. It's not like How to Train Your Dragon or Kung Fu Panda, which have ended. This is something that's really just kicking off now.
Shrek is just like Kids Zone. It'll also outlive us all.
How have they not just thrown a troll show into the Barney Theater? It blows my mind.
It's really tiny in there, though. I feel like Trolls would be almost too popular for the venue.
Possibly, but then again, it doesn't all have to be like Showstopper e-tickets,
As long as he farts glitter, I don't care what they do.
You also missed what would be the very easiest restaurant in the history of all time if they went Nickelodeon.
Krusty Krab?
Yeah, that's like a given, isn't it?
You imagine how weird it would be, though, to have Krusty Burger and Krusty Krab within 100 feet of each other? It's just the strangest coincidence.
It'll be the Krusty area of the park. That's what we'll call it. Jake, ideas for Lost Continent? Do you think it's
keep it?
Yeah, no. Do you think it's just gonna stand for a while, or what do you think is gonna happen?
I think as of now, it's not going anywhere for at least 5 years.
That's bold.
I feel bad. No, I think that's accurate.
Okay.
I feel bad for it because I feel like it's like the Giving Tree, Like the story
It keeps sacrificing itself.
Yeah, it doesn't put up a fight. It's like, okay, you can turn that into Potter. Okay, you can close down the Sinbad Theater. I just want you to be happy. Like, okay, like, can we take a little bit more? You sure? Go for it. We're gonna turn your disused theater into a queue for this new ride. Okay.
It's like the Giving Tree / Eeyore.
Doesn't matter.
They need to put a show in Sinbad.
Yeah, they haven't even touched that. They don't even want to spend money because they know they're going to tear it all down.
Yeah, makes sense.
Put a Puss in Boots show in there and leave the set the same.
I like that he's meeting over there. I feel like he fits in that area. Same thing with She-Ra.
Yeah, just give us a show in that theater. It can't be ranked, quote, #1 theme park on Earth and not even have a show.
Does it have no shows?
Has no.
I mean, when Sinbad was open, it's the same as having no shows. So
I mean, yeah, that was pretty trash too.
Silence Fury is pretty great too. I don't know if you consider it a show, but
it's a walk-through attraction. No, Sinbad got less than 500 guests per show and only 2 or 3 shows a day. So we're talking
this is horrible.
We're talking 1,200 people would see that show on a day, on a good day. You know, that's how many you get. Like, there's some shows that are pulling 5,000 people. So
and it blows my mind. If you have a show that was open for 17 years, probably Sinbad, a little bit longer maybe, and you know that it's terrible, why don't you rewrite it?
You saw what they did. They cut 3 minutes out. Instead of fixing it, they just cut out some of it.
Like,
and they left in the worst parts of it. They left in all the bad jokes. They're still doing Britney Spears' "Hit Me Baby One More Time" jokes the last time I saw it, right before it closed.
Like, who's in charge of this stuff? It makes no sense. We have a terrible show that you could easily change.
The Wild West Stunt Show was like the best theme park show I've ever seen. Like, I haven't seen Waterworld, otherwise that would be better. But as far as stunt shows, like, that one was entertaining. It had great music, choreography, and it made sense in the realm of like a theme park where it's like, we're the stunt team, and it's like, no, we took care of your stunt team, and then the stunt team is actually in character. It's brilliant. It's just brilliant.
Yeah. Wasn't there a rumor that they were going to bring that back?
I don't know. The set's still technically there, just repainted. It's still there. It's still got the
Fear Factor still exists. What is this?
Because it's cheap and it pulls in not a lot of people, but it pulls in people.
Time frame of opening, probably going to be the most asked question, I would assume, at this point of the podcast.
Do you mean for Universal's Epic Universe?
I do.
Guys, are your minds going to be blown when you find out that Epic Universe is actually the name of the South Resort and the theme park is still called Fantastic World? I was looking at their official diagram of where it's located.
Yes.
And the Northern Resorts lists, Universal Studios Florida, Hard Rock Hotel, Islands of Adventure, everything separately, Volcano Bay. And then you scroll down and that giant 750-acre blue block just says Epic Universe.
You're correct.
So what if they didn't announce the name of the actual theme park yet?
Just like the little entire area. Yeah.
Right. So, because they said it was going to have entertainment venues, it was going to have hotels with an S. I was like, how does one theme park with only one hotel have hotels with an S? Interesting. So, Fantastic Worlds at Epic Universe might still be on the table.
It rolls off the tongue. It rolls off the tongue well.
Yeah, nothing like confusing people further like Universal Escape. We have 2 resorts. One is the North Resort called Universal Orlando Resort, and one is the South Resort called Universal's Epic Universe. Both feature theme parks and entertainment districts. And people are like, what?
Have fun figuring out where to go, family that's never been here.
Would you like a 3-park pass? What does it include?
Would you like a 2-resort pass?
Park. It includes our water park. Well, that's not a theme park. It's a 3-theme park pass. 2023. The answer is 2023.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I've been putting on all my videos as well. I've said anything earlier is a gift, anything later is just but 2023. Jake?
That's like your favorite number, 23.
Yeah, true.
Oh no, my favorite number is 27. That's not a good sign.
That's a random number.
I like that number.
27?
I like 27 too. My bar mitzvah was on October 27th.
There you go.
Back in
It
the
could
day.
be later. It could be 2025 at the latest. Originally,
Don't
the
say
Kirkman
that. Don't put
expansion-
that. Don't put that vibes out there.
Originally, the Kirkman expansion, which is like required for this park to open, was going to be. It had up until 2025 to finish. That's when Universal stepped in. It's like, listen, we'll give you $160 million. We're taking the lead on this thing. We're going to get it done in 2023, and that's what they say now, 2023. So if the road's done in 2023, I think the theme park's done in 2023.
Makes sense. Jake, any last thoughts?
Nope.
You're good with that.
Yeah. pretty good with it.
That's fair. Alicia, again, we want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We definitely appreciate you being here, guys. As we mentioned earlier, go check out not only her website but also her podcast and YouTube channel as well. Please don't forget, if you are checking us out on YouTube, to subscribe, drop a comment, leave a like on this video. If you're catching us on Apple Podcasts, also don't forget to subscribe to stay on the loop on everything that we have on the way for you guys. All right, guys, I'm going to see all of you guys in the next episode. Jake, you want to sign us off?
Shake and bake, baby.
You